Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Dan, Chad, and Harmony. Thank you so much for joining us on what has been a very quiet deadline day for Liverpool fans. There's been nothing going on at all. We have nothing to report, I'm afraid. It's only going to be a 5-minute long stream. We've nothing to talk about at all. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Dan, how are you today? Very, very dapper for the event that we have today. Thank you so much for dressing up. You're making me feel like a very shabby.
I'm doing good. I've been working on my Jim White accent. So if you hear a bad American rendition of Jim White, who's like Scottish, like posh Scottish to some degree, I would say I apologize, but I don't apologize in any way, shape, or form. I'm doing good. I'm excited to see Gravenberch be announced here, hopefully shortly, and seeing if any other news comes on today. And I will be on tonight's stream for Transfer Deadline Day.
Yes.
We can see more of me in my very lovely suit.
Yes, that is one thing that I do need to make everybody aware of as well, that anybody that's watching at the moment, we will have a live stream counting down the last hour of the transfer window from 10 p.m. UK this evening. We will have another live stream. Myself is on it, Dan is on it. We have a couple of other people that are on it as well. Make sure you like and subscribe to us. Make sure you have that bell notification on so that you get notified of the next time we go live. Harmony, my friend, we have not seen each other in quite a while. How are you? You're muted, Harmony.
Yeah, I've only been on this whole week, so you can see I'm kind of rusty, but I'm doing good. It's good to be back, and it's good to be on with you boys.
And Chad, my friend, long time no see. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's been a long time, but it was good to have a stream yesterday with Dan. Again, looking dapper as he was yesterday. If you guys missed it, please go back and watch. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have everybody here. Nearly over 70 people in here already, which is great. So just a couple of topics that we have to go off of. There's been a lot of news, been a lot of business. We have, in all intensive purposes, done everything other than announce Ryan Gravenberch, who has come from Bayern Munich. There was a little bit of a worry there when the Paulinho deal fell through, but thankfully David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, and everybody decided to come and give us some good news in that Ryan is currently registered with Liverpool, so he possibly may be featuring in Sunday's game, much the same as Endo did against our previous opponents, even if so for only a couple of minutes. But however, he will be here. Harmony, happy with this signing? Yeah. £35 million. Could we have? Well, do you think that was probably the best thing we could have gone for? Was there any other options that we could have went for? Or do you think that, given the player profile that Gravenberch is, do you think that that's a good signing? And how do you think he'll fit in with us?
Yeah, I'm happy with the signing. Although I remember the last time I was on, I was talking about how I'm kind of 50-50 on the player, whether we get him or we don't. I really don't care. But now that it's actually kind of here, the deal is actually getting. Can you hear some noise in the background? Because obviously people are just walking around in the background. No, okay.
No, we're good.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've got the player and everything's kind of sealed, apart from getting the announcement and getting the picture of the player on the shirt and holding the shirt, signing the contract. I took some time to think about it, and during the whole, the Europa League draw of us, getting the group and everything like that, it kind of just gave me a bit more realization of how much we actually need. We need a player like him on the team, because what it does, it gives us so much more depth when it comes to those sort of competitions that we're going to be playing, especially in that group that is such an easy group for Liverpool that I can say that we should literally be going through with like our second team. It shouldn't be like Mo Salah playing. It shouldn't be like any big guns playing. It should be like the second string coming on and playing that group stage games, and we should be comfortably going through. And I feel like that would be such a great way to embed him into the team, to embed some of the young players as well. So just looking at it in that perspective, and I'm sure we're going to be going on a long cup run with the FA Cup, the Carling Cup, hopefully the Premier League, and hopefully the Europa League as well. We're going to need players in there in that midfield, to rotate and take some stress off the starting 11. So yeah, I feel like I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with the signing now. Yeah,
that's good. I'm very happy with it as well. The signing itself I think is good. It allows us more depth. It allows us to play a double pivot against teams like this weekend against Villa and next weekend against Wolves. I'm very happy with that myself. With regards then to other players coming in, and as you said, the Europa League, I think that this is an ample opportunity to give minutes to players that otherwise would not have gotten them again in a Champions League campaign. And I think this year will show the likes of Kwanzaa, the likes of Nunes, the likes of Bajcetic, Curtis Jones, Elliott, people that may not have gotten major minutes in Champions League football will now get major minutes. And that can only help us. We've over 130 people in here, guys. Please do like and subscribe. As I mentioned, make sure that you have the notification bell on for any future streams. We're going to be going again at 10 o'clock this evening for the final hour of the transfer deadline. So please do join us for that too if you can. Daniel, I say Daniel, it's very formal just because you're in the suit. Dan, Gravenberch with yourself, you've sang his praises all summer. You've very much been in his camp singing his praises. So with him being signed, I'd imagine you're quite happy. How do you see him fitting into our squad?
So I think he's probably going to be something similar to what they were trying to do with a player like Romeo Lavia, which is someone that may not get a lot of starts for the first 2 to 3 months, except for like the Europa League and Cup games. But then you could argue by December he's going to be the first name on the team sheet ahead of Wataru Endo. And I think that, for me, I was always worried if we were going to sign Gravenberch and not signed another quote-unquote specialist DM to play ahead of him, where it's like, it's Gravenberch or Lavia, and they're just going to have to play all the games no matter what. I actually think I'm going to say genius, but, some people are going to come for me. The genius of the Wataru Endo signing is that it allows you to essentially say, we have a veteran player in front of you that can play games, can play a little bit of football, that allows them to kind of, for lack of a better term, figure out where they're going to maximize Gravenberch's potential from. And I think that it's a big show of confidence in both Pep and the real Pep and Pep Linders and Jurgen Klopp that they got Gravenberch. And I think Gravenberch is coming in with the idea of, he may not get a lot of starts for the first 2-3 months, but by December he has the shirt and he's going to be playing either as a double pivot or sometimes as a lone six, just obviously depending on the opposition. But it's so good. Like, I know we were talking about Kefren Turam and Manu Kone. Those players are very raw. Gravenberch is younger and he is still raw, but he has way more Champions League experience, way more, I would say top flight, but some people don't rate the Eredivisie. But he has way more top flight experience than both players as well. And while I think that buying Kone and Turam would have been, a gamble at 40 to 50 mil, I think 34 million pounds for Ryan Gravenberch is, I think it's signed in the summer next to Alex McAllister at this point in terms of what type of player you're getting for the value. Now, obviously, I think it's going to take time, and we're just going to have to see what happens with them. But it's the same, like every player we've signed so far, I think we've nailed every player that we've actually brought in and bought has been an absolute nail-on success for what we're asking them to do. And even, I think, above and beyond sometimes with, like, Dominic Soboslai.
Yeah, before we get into any other topics, we've nearly 150 people in here, and one of the people that has always been here through thick and thin, no matter good news or bad news, is Jen. And again, Jen, we have to thank you so much for funding all of our transfers this summer. You single-handedly have bought 3 players for Liverpool, and hopefully if you keep going, we'll get a 4th by the end of today. Thank you so much, Jen. It's very much appreciated. It's been there the whole summer, and we hope it continues, and we're glad that you're loving the content. And yes, I do agree. Kev LFC transfer room, he needs to be in for our centre back. We'll give him the news, and that he's our new centre back alongside Virgil van Dijk. I reckon he'd do a number there, to be perfectly honest with you. Chad, with yourself, how do you see Ryan Gravenberch fitting into this Liverpool squad? I see him myself as a very box-to-box midfielder. I think he can play very well progressing the ball with his feet, as in carrying the ball and passing the ball forward. Do you see him in a similar role, or do you see him playing as, our purely number 6?
No, I don't see him as a 6. I don't think he has the defensive ability to play as a 6. We were talking about this yesterday about him not being a destroyer in the 6. we don't play that system anymore where we have a destroyer in terms of a Fabinho-like player that's defensive and strong defensively and can hold the line before the ball progresses to our centre backs and our defensive line. So I see more as an 8, but as a double pivot as an 8, because the way that our system works in the midfield, the fluency in the midfield that we have, everyone is able to do a job in defense. And you watch the Newcastle game, the Bournemouth game, and you see Szoboszlai dropping into that double pivot and holding the play and commanding the midfield. So he has a defensive ability. You see McAllister playing as a 6 in the last 2 games, the first 2 games, sorry. He has that defensive ability. And now you bring in Gravenberch, he's not the best at defending, but he can put in a job, and he has a physical ability to put in that job. So what I see Klopp doing is maybe moving McAllister a little bit more deeper, allowing Gravenberch to maybe sit next to him, playing that double 6, have Szoboszlai play up more forward, and then just rotate slowly and surely, just rotate that midfield. So it's not a single person playing in the 6. It's more of a collective of all 3 of them doing a job in that midfield. And I feel like that's the key for us. Because if you see now recent games, you can see Endo is getting a lot higher than Fabinho used to be. So you can see that Klopp wants us to not sit back in the midfield and not have them come in and attack us, get more forward, get more progressive, and stop the line there and then before it gets past the halfway line, in a sense. So
yeah, I would very much agree with you like that. Sorry, go ahead. Your point wasn't finished there, Chad. Keep going.
Oh, no. I was just saying that, it's the only thing that I worry about is Trent and that formation. Leave Trent as a right back, or go out and get a right back so you can put Trent in the midfield. We can't play with this inverted role anymore because it's killing the momentum, it's killing the flow, it's hurting our defense. Again, another point from this last night was Van Dijk doesn't move, he doesn't shift into the middle of the field when it comes to the defensive duties, and Konate is stranded because he has to cover his position as a centre back plus Trent's position. So we need to sort out that formation, and we need to sort out that where Trent plays. But other than that, Gravenberch should be a long-term solution. But he's helping that young core that Klopp is building that can, secure Liverpool's future.
Yes, he is. And to be honest with you, with every new signing, the average age of the team is going down. We've nearly 180 people in here, guys. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank Andy Injuin for his nearly $3 Australian. Thank you so much. Gonzalo Inacio news. Well, the news is he signed a new contract and his release clause is now 20 million more than what it was previously. So as much as it breaks my heart to say, I don't think we're going for him. And that honestly shatters my heart because I have been his biggest fan since day one. So unfortunately, there's no news on Inacio. Yeah, I'm going to cry later this evening when the window ends and Gonzalo Inacio is not in a Liverpool jersey. However, we may meet him in the Europa League competition. Yeah. But moving on from that, thank you again so much, Andy, for that $3. Really helps the channel, really helps us make better content for you guys, and that's what we really want to do. Thank you so much for that. We've lost Dan somewhere. Or is he back? No, he's back. Everything's fixed. It's okay. I'll fix everything here now. Sorry about that. There we go. He's back. Dan had a bit of a heart attack, and now he's back. So we're all good. We got our dapper looking man back. We're okay. With Gravenberch, I do think he's going to come in and play in a double pivot. But more to your point, Chad, you mentioned about getting somebody that can come in and play right back or a right centre back. Well, isn't it just such a coincidence that there have been rumblings, albeit not very serious rumblings, of a particular Andre Bella-Kotchap, who does play both sides of a centre-back. And as Fabrizio Romano said, and I have said all summer as well, we don't mess about. If we want somebody, we get it done quick. So with his deal with Bayern Munich having fallen through, I genuinely think there's an option there to steal. I think the loan deal that they want is somewhere in the region of about £3 million and then an option to buy. That's a bargain for that kind of a player. I genuinely think he's their best defender, and he is a Premier League quality defender. And at that age, I think he can grow and be a centre back for the next 10 years with us. I'll ask yourself, Harmony, do you think this is a player that we should go after? Do you like his profile? Do you think he fits in well with us? Would you like him as a left centre back, a right centre back, to sit on the right and cover Trent as he goes into the inverted role, or would he be better on the left hand side and force Van Dijk to push over? As Chad said, he doesn't necessarily like pushing over and leaves a gap. But with somebody there like Bella-Kotchap who can actually force him to move over, otherwise he'd be crowded. Give me a couple of your thoughts on him as a player.
Brilliant young player, talented. He's high ceiling, and I believe if we got him, we will solve our centre back situation and our defensive situation massively. Only because we're going to have someone else there that we can rely on apart from Matip and Gomez. In case they get injured, you can probably play him with Kwanzaa in there if you really needed to in Europa League to give the big guys rest, just in case, like I said, the Gomez and Matip situation, or even Konate, they might get injured, and the guy's really got like some sort of experience playing up at the top level. So that really makes it easier for him to kind of come in. And he's going to have someone like Van Dijk next to him that's going to teach him, that he's going to learn from every single day in training and kind of just pick and gain so much knowledge from him. So by the time next season, this guy can be like one of the world beaters and really got our centre-back in the future sorted with, him and Konate and obviously Kwanzaa. So every single part of this deal makes sense. It's just now just comes down to, is Liverpool actually going to go ahead and just do the deal and get the kid in? And that's been my chain. I feel like he will snatch at that opportunity because he knows he's going to get plenty of game time. Like we said, the whole Europa League thing, players are going to be getting so much time that they on the pitch that they wouldn't get if they were playing Champions League. And we'll get to see these young players develop and get to see if they're ready for that next step. And I feel like, and for me personally, just looking at it, yes, Champions League would have been great, but this Europa League, I feel like, is a blessing in disguise because we have so many young talent that we might not been able to give so many chances to play. But now we have a competition and an easy group that they can literally just come in and play and show what they have. And it gives Klopp an understanding, okay, who do I have in the future and who do I can be like, okay, you can go, or you can go back to, to the under-21s or under-18s or whatever. So, yeah, looking at it like that, I feel like it's a great deal, and I believe that Liverpool should definitely jump at it. But like I said, it really comes down to the club if they're actually going to make the move for the kid.
Yeah, I think it is, and at this point, any speculation that comes out, Twitter is going to be going nuts, and every aggregate Twitter page is going to be trying to make that money really quickly and start spouting any sort of a rumor. So we won't report on anything unless we think it's guaranteed or as close to a sure thing as possible with our rating system that we have. Dan, with Andre Bella-Kotchap, do you agree with much of Harmony's sentiments? Do you think, even though he's playing with Southampton at the moment, and given our recent, not so much bad history with Southampton, but maybe a bad history with their player, do you think that might sour any sort of a deal that may come from fruition? It might make it harder for us. They might want more from us. Do you think it's as simple as what Bayern Munich were asking for in the 3 million and loan and then a buy option? Or do you think there's even any hope of this for us?
Hope, yes, because Bayern have kind of already set the terms, so Liverpool have a framework from where they can, they don't have to go into negotiations like we'll just do the Bayern deal. So it kind of does a lot of their work for them. I have two trepidations with this, which are not personal. I think Bella-Kotchap would be a very smart signing, especially on loan. But I have a few thoughts about why this will probably not happen. So first off, someone said something about Gonzalo Ignacio from Sporting. So Bella-Kotchap has been there this whole time at Southampton, and a deal could have been done all the way back in June, August, May, July, any time over the past summer transfer window, if they thought he was good enough to be a backup center back for Liverpool and potentially a first team player. So I don't think they rate him that highly. It's the same thing with Ignacio, where if they thought he was good, they would have just gone and got him, as we know that they do things very, very quickly. but I just think it's a question of whether or not they rate him or not. Now, where I say that we might end up getting him, and the one hope is, one, we know Van Dijk's suspended for a game, and potentially more than that, which we've already talked about.
It's probably going to be 2 games.
Yeah, so it'll probably be 2 games he's there suspension for. Konate has a muscle injury, but we don't know how serious it is, but obviously he can't play at Wolves, and they'll probably be back for the transfer deadline. After the transfer deadline day and after the international break, which I think is Wolves. Steven, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's Wolves.
Yeah,
it's Wolves.
So, and I mean they already played Matip, at Newcastle, so they obviously rate him enough to be the 3rd choice. I'm kind of stuck in a situation where I think it would be a good deal for Liverpool to try and do, and maybe they're waiting on announcing Gravenberch because they're probably plotting to do a dual announcement video, but I have no idea. Honestly, I just believe that if they rate him high enough, they would go and get him. I still think they need to do a defender, and it's not because I don't rate Kwanzaa or even still, like last night I got accused of being ageist. It's not that I don't rate Matip. It's that I worry because with the way we play, with that high line, with how we want to use Trent in the future, they're going to need specific defenders that can do that. Very athletic defenders that are tall and can run and can win balls in the air. And he fits that profile. Now, whether or not they move for him, I have no idea. And I think Klopp was kind of hinting at that, where he's like, I don't think anything else will happen, but I don't want to ruin anybody's hopes so far. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think they should move for him. But obviously, people that are way smarter than me at Liverpool have looked at him and said, we don't want to bring him in as of right now, but that may change within the next 5 hours before the window closes.
Yeah. I think that's actually a problem at Liverpool of us not being willing to take a risk. He's a very promising young player. He's somebody that could grow into a Van Dijk. And if we have him, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he would qualify as homegrown as well, considering he's played in England for a number of years, or is he owned?
He's only been in England for a year, and
okay.
Last year was his first year coming from VfL Bochum, and in his youth, and if you look at his youth history, he's been in Rot-Weiss, Borussia Mönchengladbach. So again, it's all been German, so he would not count as homegrown. So again, that is another decision I think is why they don't want to do it, is because he would take that last non-homegrown.
Well, I don't think Adrian is going to be registered, so I think that last non-homegrown spot is essentially open. Yeah, that's my own opinion about it. It's been my sort of stick that I've been using to beat a dead horse all summer, in that I think Adrian was purely given a renewal of his contract on the off chance that Kelleher was going, and realistically now with 3 hours left in the window, I don't think Kelleher's going anywhere unless we get a shock from somewhere. But as it stands at the moment, I think that's the only reason Adrian is there. I don't think he gets registered, meaning we open up a non-homegrown spot, meaning somebody like Bella-Kotchap could come in and play there. But again, we do need to go for him if needs be. Chad, the last question on this for yourself. If you, with Bella-Kotchap, like with his player profile, do you rate him? Do you think Liverpool should rate him? Given the deal with Lavia and how that kind of went sour, and how we kind of, I won't beat around the bush. I think we wronged Lavia a little bit in the deal there, but he's kind of made his bed at the same time, and I don't really have any sympathy for him as well with what he's gone and done over at Chelsea, because he's not even in the squad, can't even make their Carabao Cup squad. But that's an argument for another stream. Boy. Yeah, he's not even on the sideline like a water boy. Like it's bonkers. He chose money over football, and that's fine. So we leave it at that. It's good. With the likes of Nat Phillips actually going away on loan today, the man that sent Zlatan Ibrahimovic all the way back to his house in Milan with a Cruyff turn in the San Siro, the legend that was Big Nat, has now ventured over to Celtic on a loan deal. I don't think there's a buy option clause in it, but maybe there is. I might have missed that. But
no, there's not.
There's not. Fantastic. Bring him back. I want him to school some fella again and just send him to the shops. Chad, with Bella-Kotchap coming in and the likes of Nat Phillips leaving, do you rate the player? Do you think he'll do a number for us? Do you think if we do go for him, this is going to be a very late deal? Because as Dan said, I keep saying Daniel, he just looks so formal in his suit. As Dan mentioned, Bayern Munich set the terms already, so we know what the going price is. So we could very easily go and get him for that. I believe it was mentioned somewhere earlier in the chat, 3 million and a 25 million buy clause. I'd take that. I would jump at that. Give me a couple of your thoughts on him as a player. Would you take him at that? Do you rate him as a player? Do you think he's worth that? Is it worth it going for a loan rather than purchasing him outright? I've seen some people say buy him in January. He could get injured by January. Why wait when you can get him now?
Yeah, I do rate him. I do rate him a lot. He was Southampton's best defender last season. And he is one of Southampton's key players. The loan deal for me would be more for the pacing of the deal to get it done quicker. Get the loan, get it done quicker, add a buy-on clause, and then during the season you can purchase him while he's with the team already, or even wait until January, but he's still in the team already. So that's what the loan deal for me would have been. But yeah, I do rate him. I agree with what you were saying about Lavia. We did kind of, play with him a little bit in the sense that we wanted him, but we didn't want him at the same time. He was like playing hard to get for some reason. I don't understand that, why we playing hard to get when we Liverpool Football Club. But it's for me, I do rate him. I do see him as a good player, but at the same time, I feel like he might be a Ben Davies, like we said yesterday. I think it was James or Daniel. Dan, sorry, now you're making me say Daniel. Dan said yesterday.
Well, only my wife and my mom call me Daniel, so you guys are treading on some territory here. Unless we're getting married or you're my mother, let's be careful here now, guys. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, like we were saying yesterday, we don't want to make it seem like it's a rush move. It's a panic buy, and then puts pressure on the team, push pressure on the player as well. And with the fans again, like it's gonna be the fans outside will say, okay, this is a Ben Davies kind of signing. We're not gonna rate him that much, and that's not gonna allow the player to grow. So for me, it's a little too late now. We've made our bid. We have to lay in. Nat Phillips going is a big shock for me because I'm not 100% sure if Reece James has gone on loan or if he's injured. I'm not 100% sure there, but to have only Kwanzaa as the backup behind Matip and Gomez it's going to be a big problem, and hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us during the season. If you can get Bella-Kotchap now on a loan, 100% take him. Even if it's Jacob Greaves from Hull, take him 100%. That's just extra cover, extra bodies in the back. We need that because it seems like the refs have an agenda against the Red Man this season. And we don't know how many other defenders are going to get to sit on the sidelines in the change room, take an early shower. So we need the bodies. We need the bodies. I think what Liverpool did 100% correct this season, or this transfer window, was sort out the midfield. They've done that. They've got the midfield that we want. They've got the keys to the future. But the problem with Liverpool is they always leave something hanging. Last season we needed midfielders. Now it's midfielders and a defender, but we only sorted out the midfield. You know what I mean? So next season is going to be we sort out the defense, but now we need so and so. So for me, we have the money, we have the ability to get these players, we have the pull power. Just get the player. Don't dawdle. Why are you dawdling? Just get the player, bring them in. The sooner the better, because then they can gel with the team. Why are you? Why you might hide behind the bush or something like that? It doesn't make sense to me. But again, I feel like that's just the policy that we've had ever since FSG has come in. So we just have to stick with it. Hopefully we can get another guy in, a defender, and push on and just hope that none of our defenders get injured and Matip and Gomez can revive themselves this season.
Yeah. So my only thing, Chad, is that I don't think that's a FSG decision. That's a Klopp and York Schmatka decision. Like it's going to be up to Klopp whether or not he wants to bring in Bella-Kotchap. Like I totally agree with you. I think that I don't think it's as simple as it's in hindsight. It looks simple where it's like Liverpool don't solve an issue, things go wrong. It proves the pattern, but in reality, last year, the biggest problem wasn't just the fact that we didn't sign defensive midfielders, that everyone got injured and everyone got old very quickly. And so, the team going into that was deep on paper, but it was a paper tiger in the sense that everyone got injured at the same time. We had 4 or 5 midfielders injured by our first game of the season, and then Fabinho and Henderson couldn't run anymore. And that was really the death knell of that team, was that no one could really run anymore. But I do agree with you that they should take a risk on Bella-Kotchap. And I think actually part of the transfer strategy this season has been the fact they have taken risks. So Gravenberch is a risk to some degree because he didn't prove himself at Bayern. He doesn't have the games that we would normally look for, but they're willing to take a risk on him coming good, like a Tchouaméni and like a Bellingham. So hopefully they get a Bella-Kotchap. I don't think they'll do it, but I think it's mostly because Klopp, I don't think or Pep or Jorg or Barry Hunter or whoever in the transfer committee just doesn't rate him high enough to think that you go for him. But hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, it's
no, 100%. I agree with you. What I was saying with the FSG was, sorry about that, Omni. It was that it's the Moneyball strategy that it's the Moneyball strategy that they brought in. It's not necessarily the owners, but it's the way that the owners want to, how can I say, develop the team and develop the strategy behind the scenes. And so for me, I agree with Gravenberch being a risk, but at the same time, we had a profile made for him already. We had a binder made from his Ajax days. Unfortunately, he had a bad season at Bayern in the sense that he didn't play much. But for me, it wasn't as big of a strategy, a big risk as if we went for Jude or we went for Moise Caicedo, where we bought one singular player instead of buying multiple players that can rechange the whole midfield. You know what I mean? So no, I 100% agree with you in the sense that we need to take more risk. We need to trust ourselves and trust our instincts, because I feel like there's a lot of big brains in that Liverpool camp that understand what's going on, and we're not allowing them to play that 3D chess. You know what I mean? Okay, this guy is a quality player. No one's looking at him, but let's take him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if we can start doing that, I feel like it's not a thing of we lacking money. It's a thing of we lacking
ambition.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say ambition. I just think it's that risk aversion. And Chad, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a byproduct of the philosophy of Moneyball to some degree, but I think it's also the fact that everyone buys into that philosophy, so they all have very similar decision-making to mindsets, and so it's very easy for them to agree. I don't even think it's so much an issue of ambition as much as it is that they all back themselves as being very, very smart operators in the market. And I think that sometimes when you think you're really smart, you can also make really bad decisions. You can be both. You can be very, very intelligent, very smart, have all the information, and still make a bad decision. I mean, that's pretty much what last year was us having all the information, have everything, have very smart people in power, and, still make very bad decisions as well. Sorry, Harman, I didn't mean to cut you off there, man.
No, go ahead. No, you're fine. I just wanted to add a little 2 cents on that. I feel like this season is the best season to take those risks with those type of players, because when in Europa League, you can give them time on the pitch, see what they have. You can give them time on the pitch when they're playing the FA Cup, the early rounds, the Carabao Cup early rounds, and it kind of gives you a gauge of exactly where this player is in his development and if he can take that next step forward. And I don't feel like you're going to get this chance again. So if you feel like these and you're not really taking a risk when you get this guy, because you're getting him on loan. It's not like you're buying him permanently, because if you don't like him, you can just release him and just let him go back. So that's why I feel like is probably the best time to do it is now, because we have these, cup competitions that we don't have, hard teams that we've got to play like in the Champions League. So you can give them the time to kind of express themselves, and it gives the manager so much time to actually analyze these guys and see, okay, you know what, this guy is ready, this guy's not ready. I can keep him, I don't have to keep him, So that is the reason why I feel like it will be good for Liverpool to kind of go in and take these risks.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with you, and that's why I thought the Europa League was ironically kind of a blessing in disguise to some degree, is it allows you to kind of take more risk and see what you're about. And that's actually when Klopp is at his best, is when he's not doing the tried and true. He's like trying to be experimental, trying to take risk on players. That's when we get like a quadruple run. It's not when he's like, these are my 14 lads and no everyone else is outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Sorry, I'm looking at 3 different things here. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I've been reading Wolfgang's comment though. He's been saying that he's saying
look,
that,
that's something I was going to call out. Like, look, I get it, Wolfgang,
Yeah.
that you're a Liverpool fan, but realistically, I don't particularly think that you know more than Romano and David Ornstein and every other journalist on Twitter that's come out and said that the Paulinho deal had nothing to do with the validity of the Gravenberch deal. So if that's your opinion on it, that's completely fine. But it's grand. That's fine. Just have that opinion. It's realistically just that. But to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think there's any validity in what you're saying in relation to that. So we'll just leave that as it is. And we appreciate your opinion and everything, and that's what allows us to disagree here back and forth. But at the same time, I don't agree with it. Why would fair enough, there's a delay in announcing it. He's registered. He's been registered for the past couple of hours. How could we register a player if we haven't signed him already? His pen has been put to paper. He's a Liverpool player. There's not much more that can be said about it outside of that. So realistically, you can say the Paulinho deal and everything, and there's no hope of him going back. I don't see any hope of him going back. So that's grand. What does this talk about Liverpool taking more risks? We have a good model that balances risk with a defined strategy instead of following fans who are sentiment driven. Remy, I agree with you to about 50% of everything there. While I agree with you that it is a risk aversion model, as Dan mentioned, I do still think that we need to take more risks in younger players, the likes of a Bella-Kotchap, the likes of a Sagare, the likes of anybody like that. We do need to take risks in younger players rather than spending bigger on proven players, because you save yourself tens of millions in the long run and then can actually make tens of millions in the long run. So
that's what they've done in this market. And that's what they've done in this market. That's what Klopp's saying. Like McAllister at 35 million, like McAllister's 24. I mean, it seems like it's not much of a risk, but it's not Jude Bellingham. You know, Dominic Szoboszlai, 22 years old for 70 million euros, 60 million pounds. I mean, that's a risk to go big deal on him. You know, Wataru Endo is a 30-year-old player with no resale value. I mean, it's a risk to go for a 30 million player where you don't know how well you adjust. And even Ryan Gravenberch, which we're waiting for the announcements. But listen, and sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I get what he means though. This isn't sentimentality. Like, this is me restating what Jurgen Klopp himself has said at press conferences since last year, you know, in many ways. And listen, Wolfgang, if you got a source, man, I would love to read it, because I need, if I'm going to get bad news, I at least want to be able to forestall it. If you got any news, I will send it to us. I will gladly read it for you.
The Paulinho deal has collapsed. There's been absolutely zero reports. Even Fabrizio Romano, for all that we hate him for and all that we cursed him during the Caicedo deal, even he's come out in defense of us and said that the deal is there. So if you have a guy on the Chelsea payroll that's coming out and defending us, realistically, you can't do anything about it. Something that I did want to mention, though, guys, is we are looking for nominations for the Football Creator Awards. So I'm going to tag everything here now, and I'm going to show it up here and read it out. So if you can please vote for us in the awards, vote for the LFC Transfer Room in the Best New Content Creator, Best Club Content Creator, Best Media Organization, and Best in Social categories. Please and thank you. This is the link here. So if everybody could jump on that and please give us a vote. We've 227 people that are here currently at the moment in the live stream. Please do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have the bell notification on for any future streams, like later on at 10 p.m. this evening when we have our transfer deadline countdown stream. So moving on from our players that are here to players that may leave. And one of them, I can't believe I'm saying it, is our golden boy, Mohamed Salah. Before we get on to that, though, we do have a question from David Shakespeare. Question for you all. Do you think, funnily enough, it's about him. Do you think Salah would leave, and do you think it could end up with no replacement for Salah? I'll answer this in two parts. No and yes. But to give it a longer answer, I don't think that we're going to get him sold with less than 3 hours left in the transfer window. It doesn't give us all that amount of time to do anything with it. Now, if 200 million comes in, I can't see us turning that down, because that's silly money. And seeing how this club took the Philippe Coutinho money, and spent that and gave us a generational centre back and still a generational and best in the world goalkeeper.
Stephen, I have to break. I got breaking news for you. So we got João Cancelo and João Felix are now moving from Athletic Madrid to Barcelona. Barcelona have finally pulled one of the levers, and now they're going in. This is breaking news from Sky Sports here. Just I'm sorry, Stephen. Please continue. We'll come back to the story.
Jesus Christ! For the love of God, never do that accent again. I will pay you not to do that accent again.
Please.
Oh my God, that's actually frightening. Oh,
is it worse? Is it any worse than Damo's American accent? Like, let's be honest here.
I suppose, yeah. But Jamie is here. I appreciate the breaking news, Dan. They're both loans. That's hilarious because Barcelona can't really register any players, so that's why they're loaning guys in. Their club is absolutely up shit creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
And also no option buy too.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
I know Damo missed it all. He missed it all. He missed all the accents and everything. And I heard nothing against my terrible accents. I work very hard on them, and I work very hard.
See, look, even is Damo drinking? Look at the last.
Yeah, he probably is. He's
yeah.
on holiday.
He's in a good mood. He's in a good mood.
Damo's in a good mood. He's definitely too good of a mood.
Oh,
Dan, he's already. You have to experience the American accent live. I think he's already done it. And to be honest, I'll pay. Can Stephen do a Simon Jordan? No, I couldn't have enough spit in my mouth to sound like him. But to be perfectly honest with you, he boils my piss. I'm not going to lie. At that Simon Jordan fella, the guy that put Crystal Palace into administration talking about financials on TalkSport just boiled my blood. I couldn't get over it.
TalkSport is just a show where people who have failed at their careers try to make themselves relevant.
I suppose that's why
like
Bongo is on there.
That's why they got Jim White on there.
Yeah,
yes.
Anyways.
Now we'll get back to Salah. Enough about chatting shit about other journos.
Man got relegated, but he has opinions about champions.
So there is rumours and rumblings after a £150 million bid has been rejected by Liverpool that a 200 or close to £200 million bid is incoming from Saudi Arabia to try and take Mohamed Salah. Now, personally, I don't think it happens. I think it's the Saudi Arabian boys just a little bit annoyed that we absolutely slapped their other team, Newcastle, with 10 men. All Darwin Núñez's work, all by himself. I think I gave my girlfriend an absolute heart attack when I screamed and roared for the second goal, so much so that the neighbours came down and checked that everything was okay. So that's how much excitement that man gives me. So with Salah potentially leaving, there's been a couple of names that have been thrown around. One of our very own Charlie has thrown around the name of Jared Bowen, who got ample amount of replies in relation to that, shall we say. We've had other names such as Johan Bakayoko. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Forgive me if I'm getting it wrong. He is one signing that I think would work. Also, his deal that was meant to be happening earlier. Forgive me, I can't remember the team that he was meant to be going to. Dan probably knows. The team that he was meant to be going to a couple of days ago, that deal has fallen through and he's valued at about 30-40 million, maybe even 50 million pounds. He is he's somebody that we could bring in if the Salah deal went through. However, I don't think it's going to happen. I'll pass it out to the chat and both to our panel here. I'll start with yourself, Chad, this time. Do you think there's any sort of movement behind this at all, or is it, as JMU said, just a Saudi PR machine going to work?
Look, I can play devil advocate quickly. All right, so 200 mil comes in for Salah. It is the last hour of the transfer window. Do Liverpool accept? Yes. A deal that's above 180 mil, I think Liverpool accepts. Why do Liverpool accept? Because Jota has experience playing on the right side. We have Diaz that can play on the right side. We have Gakpo. So we have fillers that can fill in if necessary. So I do see if that big sum comes in for Salah, there is a possibility that we can, protect that side just until January, and then we can go out and get someone. Would it happen? Very likely to happen? No, it's not, because it's too late. And I do agree with what Jamin says about this being a Saudi PR scandal, because obviously if you wanted the guy and you're willing to pay so much for him, you would have done it about a month ago, 2 months ago, when you were going on your rampage buying all the star players in Europe. So for me, it's not an actual thing that's going to happen. I don't see it happening. But yeah, no, I don't see Salah going anywhere anytime soon. I did say last night we do need to look for a replacement, because I do think that the Saudi teams will come for him again in the next season. But now, at the moment, no, it's way too late. And even if it is stupid money, I don't think Klopp will allow Salah to go so late and so late. It completely derails his whole plan for the season. So no, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I'd be one to agree with you in relation to that. I just think the timing of it is almost too perfect for aggregates on Twitter and journalists on Twitter to make their whole year's salary on a couple of tweets about him. But Harmony, given the off chance that it does happen, is there any players in mind? Obviously, we have Johan Bakayoko, who's one option. As our own Charlie mentioned, Jared Bowen is another option. Obviously, he's playing with West Ham at the moment as we speak, so that's definitely not an option, I don't think. But given some of the options out there, is there any option that could replace Salah outside of Mbappe? Or is it more a transition to a different style of playing and relying on Darwin Núñez as our number 9?
I wouldn't say there's a player out there like for Salah. It wasn't like you said, apart from Mbappe. We could get somebody else with a different that can play in the position, but just provides a little bit more assist rather than goals. Someone like I was thinking about Leroy Sané, even though I know he's not really, at the Salah level yet, but I feel like he's someone that can come in and do the job, because he's played in the Premier League before, and you know what he did to us a couple of times when we played against Man City. And I believe that he'll be someone that can come in and do that level. He's not going to produce the numbers that Salah does, but he can cause so much trouble in that, just attacking players, providing that ball, that pass, that final pass, and he does have a good finish on him. So I can see him being a good replacement. But if I'm really looking and I'm analysing the whole situation, you getting rid of Salah this season or in this window, it just doesn't make no sense, because it's not like the Saudi league is not gonna be interested in Salah next summer. They can still get him next summer, and you're still gonna probably get at least 120 million or even 100 million for him. So you're not really losing out on so much when it comes to Salah, because his form is not going to drop this season. It's not like he's going to fall off a cliff and then he's just going to be worthless next season. He's not going to. So for Liverpool to panic and just sell the guy and accept it, especially he's your best player, it wouldn't make no sense. And I don't see Klopp or anybody in that recruitment committee will be like, yeah, it makes sense for us to get rid of him. Yes, 200 mil is a lot of money. We can do a lot with that. But I just don't see it happening. If it's going to happen, then I feel like they'll probably come up with a deal between the January January transfer window. They'll probably have a deal for next summer, so he can be like, okay, cool, this is the deal. This is how much we're going to pay you, and then next summer he goes. So that gives time for Liverpool to actually scan the market and see who can come in and either replace him for a like or something different. Because if we sell him now, you're not giving the club time to even analyze the market, because that means you just have to swap pieces around, and we don't know if those pieces are going to work. So, and I feel like it's another thing where I feel like Klopp would not want to be blindsided again, because the whole Fabinho situation, he was blindsided. He even came out and said it. He's like, I was surprised when Fabinho left. I didn't think he was going to leave. I thought I was going to have a Fabinho here, a Hendo here, but these guys left. And I don't think he wants to put himself in a position where he has to deal with that again throughout the whole season, where he doesn't have a Salah in there. That he's really came up with a system where Salah's going to be a vital piece to it. Now it's just all of a sudden gone, and he has to work around with the Diaz, with the with Jotas and all of these. I don't think it makes any sense for Liverpool to sell him right now. So I think if he is gonna go, he'll go next season. And we're not going to lose out on much when it comes to that. So personally, I don't see him leaving at all. No.
Yeah, I don't see him leaving either. If this was a month ago, 2 months ago, maybe I could have an awful lot more faith in a deal happening at that point. I say faith in a deal, fear in a deal happening at that point is probably the better word. Dan, a question for yourself: which is there? I'll pose this to you because this is what I think might happen. We've seen Cody Gakpo can play anywhere across the front line. Would you rather have the front line of Diaz on the left, Nunes as our plain number 9, and Gakpo on the right, and then once Salah has been sold for, be it 100 million, 150 million, 200 million, where would you rather see that money invested in? Invest in a replacement or invest in a different part of the team and rely on the likes of Ben Doak, the likes of Darwin Núñez on the right? He did score 2 goals against Newcastle on the right, and Salah was sort of playing a false 9 behind him at that point, as was Diogo Jota. So would you rather try and go and get a replacement, a big signing, the likes of somebody of the realm of Mbappe or Rodrigo, or go and get Johan Bakayoko, or possibly just reinvested into a different part of the team?
So, I mean, there's a lot of nested questions into this because it's so contingent on the idea. So, first of all, if you sell Salah, the first decision you have to make is, are we going to play a right or left footer on the right wing? If we're going to put a right footer there, you can just put Szoboszlai there. I'd rather see Szoboszlai there than Gakpo because Gakpo doesn't have that much pace, and Szoboszlai's played there before, so that would be my immediate change, with Ben Doak obviously being the backup. The second question is that if you're selling Salah, you're gonna have to change your shape, because our shape is designed for Salah to be a creating inverted winger. It's very much built for one unique profile type of player. So, and there's just not that type of player in the market at the moment. Like Mbappe is not a left-footed inverted right winger who's going to create. The closest player I think that would even be near Salah, if in terms of like aggregate, not in terms of goal scoring, not in terms of assisting or anything else, but just someone who can do the Salah position, so to speak, would be Karim Adeyemi, and that's who I would go for from Dortmund. If I was going to sell Salah, hypothetically, next summer, let's say they agree for a deal of 125 million pounds, I would go to Dortmund and say, how much do you want for Adeyemi if he doesn't have a release clause? And then I would use the rest of that money to invest in a big time center back. And I think if you do those two things, then you've replaced Salah in the aggregate, in my opinion, that you go and you sign those two types of players. Now, if the plan is to put Szoboszlai there, then I say, okay, Sobo, you're playing on the right wing, we're playing more to a 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1. Then I would take that money and buy a world-class defensive mid, put Gravenberch or McAllister next to them, and I would go and buy a center back. So either way, you're either going to replace Salah with a squad option that is not just Ben Doak, or you are going to solve it in the market with a Karim Adeyemi, but still you're going to need to buy a center back in the future anyways. And I think that's what you invest the money in as well. I also think there is an option, and Stephen, I know you might not agree with this, that hypothetically Liverpool win the league, we're in Champions League, Salah stays for his last year of his contract, and he just runs it down and leaves on a free. I think that is an option, because I think that Salah wants to stay and break records, regardless. And if you're Mohamed Salah, if they're telling you that if you don't take this deal now, it's not going to be there in 2 years, that's not a good sign for the Saudi Pro League. Like, what do you mean this?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're telling me that this whole thing's going to go kaput in 2 years when they're in UEFA and actually have to have FFP. Then that's not a good option as well. So It benefits Liverpool and Salah to not accept a deal, regardless of
and wait it out. Yeah.
And wait it out. And listen, I said before, what's the offer that I would listen to? It's £1 billion. It's £1 billion. It's $1 billion. That's what I'm listening to, because that's the value Mohamed Salah would have to Liverpool Football Club. And I don't think Liverpool will accept it, because as far as we understand, Mike Gordon is the one who was in discussions with them. He said, yeah, he's not for sale. It's not going to happen. They were given no, They were given no inclination that Liverpool were interested in hearing another offer. So they can say in the news they're preparing a bid as much as they want. I don't think Liverpool accept a bid, and I don't think Salah pushes for a deal.
Yeah. So a question that Paul has for you here, Dan, is: do you think Adeyemi is more talented than Bakayoko?
Yes, long term. As a right winger, as a left-footed right winger, yes, for how we play. Now, if we're going to change how we play and we're going to be a lot more vertical and dynamic and pacey, then yeah, I would take Bakayoko. But I think Karim Adeyemi, who came from the Leipzig system, like Dominic Sly, would not need as much coaching as a Bakayoko would. And that's nothing against Bakayoko. Obviously, Brentford won him, so he's very coachable. He's a very intelligent player. I just think if you're going to get an out left footer on the right wing and not change your shape, it has to be Karim Adeyemi or no one, or you're changing your shape. That's essentially my opinion on the matter.
Yeah, I think we might be seeing a formation change soon. Now, there is one that was mentioned here by Daniel.
Sorry, Stephen.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I just want to ask Dan a question. Again, just to play on that devil's advocate again. Liverpool bought Salah when Salah wasn't Salah yet. You know what I mean? Same with Mane, same with Coutinho. We haven't bought. So what I'm asking, or what I want to put out into the panel is, watching the PSV game against Rangers, the two legs. Bakayoko looks like he has the ability to take on defenders, cut inside to his left, cut inside to his right as well. Cut outside to his right, play the balls in. Would he not be a better buy, because he will be cheaper than Adeyemi? Develop Bakayoko and then allow him to play. And then if we do sell Salah now, this today, maybe move that formation that we played against Newcastle in the second half, where we had where we were more narrow in the front, instead of having the guys fall out wide, you know, and then cutting inside. Instead of them cutting inside, we let them stay in more narrow and then cut out, like we did against Newcastle.
Yeah, so Chad, I completely accept your question. I mean, it really just comes down to what do Klopp and lenders want to do long term. I think the long term they're looking to move to a double pivot that looks more like a 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-4-2 or even a 4-2-4 sometimes. I think in that shape change, Bakayoko does make more sense than Karim Adeyemi, just because of the fact that he's going to have pace, that dynamism. He can beat a man, like you said, and he has decent end product, though it hasn't really clicked yet at PSV in terms of that, because he only had 5 goals last year. Listen, I'm all for Bakayoko as a replacement for Salah, but it really comes down to what shape is he coming into in this Liverpool team. And if he's coming into the 4-3-3 as we have it, then it has to be Adeyemi, because he's the only one that can do the Salah-like job. He may not have Salah's numbers, but if you're going to have a right wing that's going to be a primary creator and left-footed, then Adeyemi makes the most sense. If you're going to be more narrow and be more like a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, you can be more creative with your right mid, right wing position, where Bakayoko does make more sense because you need that pace, and you can even push Trent up there and buy a right back. Let's just say, I don't know, Bella-Kotchap becomes a world-class right back at Southampton next year in the Championship. So it really just comes down to what shape are they going to play. And I think the players they've bought this summer and are looking to buy tell me that they're long-term going to move to something like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2. Which is what, if you were a coach coming into this Liverpool team, you would not play 4-3-3. You would play one of those formations because of the type of players we have.
So before we finish up, I want to go through a little bit of extra time as JMUs has requested. So there is 2 questions that I have here. It won't be long, guys. I promise. I won't keep you all that long. Maybe 10 minutes at most. There was breaking news that I just seen on Sky Sports there that it has been confirmed now that it's United news. Don't get too excited. That Sofiane Amrabat has been agreed on a loan deal. It's not a deal to sign him. It's still a loan deal. Just seen it there on Sky News that he's been agreed a loan deal. Yeah. So United are still in the mud. They can't even afford to buy a player. So the joys to them. Now, for the question, a couple of questions that I want to pose, and I'll start with Harmony for both of them. So Jamie Hughes has the question here, and I'm going to include Dan's question and Daniel's question in it as well. So Daniel mentions a kid from Napoli. Now that's Osimhen for about 100 million pounds. I think it'd be a great replacement for Salah, personally, myself. So this kind of leads into Jamie Hughes' question. And I'll start off with myself and then I'll go straight to Harmony. So Jamie Hughes' quick question for a bit of extra time is, what are the 3 to 4 players you would like to see Liverpool add if Salah is sold for 200 million? Well, first of all, I'd like to see Victor Osimhen. That's one player I'd like to see come in. Now, if this is dream signings, I'd like to see us go and get Johan Bakayoko, because as Dan mentioned, if we're going to play the style that we're going to play at the moment, we'd want somebody on that side to play like that. I think we should be able to get a CDM. Now, who that may be, hopefully, I hope that nobody goes near Florentino Luis either this in the next couple of hours or this summer or next summer, and we get him, because he is a prime Fabinho at the age of 23, and I genuinely think that he could come in and do an absolute number. And then the fourth player I hope we get is Andre. Andre will be the other player that I hope we get, and I hope we get him in January. So, Harmony, I'll pose the question to yourself that JMU's had. What are the 3 players you would like to see, 3 to 4 players you'd like to see us get if Salah is sold for the 200 million? How would you like that money reinvested, and what parts of the team would you focus on?
I'll take the 2 players that you said in the beginning. I think I'll only change. I think I'll get a centre back and then Cape. Is that his last name? Cape?
Yeah,
I believe that's it. Yep. Yeah, I'll get him. And damn.
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it?
The fourth, because I'm trying to think where else in the team that we need a real. If I think of a fourth one, I'll tell you. But those are the only 3 players I'll go for personally, because I feel if we get those 3 guys, we're sorted. Because the midfield is sorted, the defense will be sorted, and the attack will be sorted as well. So we don't really have that much weakness or any gaps that we need to fill. So yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. So I'll go with yourself next, Chad. How would you reinvest that 200 million odd euro? Do you think that we should focus on a particular part of the team, the defense, the midfield, and reinforce that with a proper world-class 6, the likes of a Chouameni or somebody like that? If we live in dreamland, I don't think we'll go anywhere with that. Who would you like to see come in?
I think with that 200, we'll invest it in multiple people instead of going out for a Chouameni that's already taken half of the the 200 mil in one person. I would go for a right back. Maybe Frimpong. He has a similar trait to a Trent, a younger Trent, in the sense that he's very attacking. The defensive side is a little iffy, but he's very attacking. He can get on the ball. He can put in the ball into the box.
But wouldn't that be the same problem that we have with Trent already?
Next, I'll go for a centre back.
No,
but the thing with Frimpong, it's the way we're playing with the box. It's going to add an extra defender that will help out. So when Frimpong does bomb up, that person who's ever playing in a double pivot can jump back into that position. So, and you're not losing that attacking energy that you get from a Trent playing the right back position. And then go centre back. I'll either go for a left-sided centre back in Ikape, or I'll go for an Antonio Silva from Benfica. Very tall, very strong, good player of the ball, very underrated. Not a lot of people are making a noise about him. So, we could get him on a nice deal. And who else? Maybe at the core in the 6. Again, it's just looking at the options that we have at the moment. At the core, maybe with the Andre in January. Those 2 guys as the double 6. You have an 18-year-old Bajcetic still coming up, so he's still in the mix. I did point out yesterday that Klopp is looking at Bajcetic as his long-term 6 or his long-term midfield, that he can build the team around. And in attack, I'll go for Bakayoko. Again, I rate him very highly. I think he's a very good player that can play on that wing, can cut inside. He's very comfortable on the ball, and he offers something that Salah unfortunately doesn't, in the sense that he has a right foot. So for me, those are my guys that I'll go for. I don't see Bakayoko as an immediate Salah replacement, but he can eventually become that Salah replacement. But yeah, those are my guys: Frimpong, Antonio Silva, Ikape, and the core Andre in the middle.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with any of them if they came in. I'd be very happy with all, or even a few of them if they came in. Dan, I'll pose the same question to you. Salah goes, 200 million in your pocket. Where are you going and who are you calling?
Well, this is going to sound like I just feel that hypothesizing what type of player you would get for a forward replacement. If it was me, you're buying 2 defenders and a defensive mid if you don't think that Gravenberch is your long-term, if you think Gravenberch's more of an 8 or 10 than 6. So you take that 200 million, you say we're going to get 3 big ones. And I would say Antonio Silva is definitely one as well. You get him, that's your big one. You go in and you go to Bayer Leverkusen, you say, okay, Hincapié, no BS, what we take for him. You buy him, he becomes a left center back / left back, so he can play both in kind of a club sets. Then you go to Benfica and you say, again, you can say like, okay, Florentino Luis, what will you take for him? If it's say 100, it's 110 or whatever. If you're like 25, don't rate him that much, you go to Andre, say we'll get Andre in, and then with that last 80 to 70 million that you may have left over, you say, all right, we can buy another defender if we feel like the Van Dijk is not good enough to go forward, and we can try to see if we can get Colwell out of Chelsea if they're in financial fair play trouble. Or you go to Dortmund and PSV, like you said, Chad, and Bakayoko, and you say, okay, how much will you take for him? No BS. What will you take for him right now? And I think those are your 3 to 4 players that you buy. But the primary ones would be defensive and potentially a 6, a lighthouse 6, so to speak, that specialist all-around player. I don't think you get Doucouré, Chad. And the reason I don't think you get Doucouré is because I don't think Doucouré is good enough on the ball in Liverpool's mindset. I don't think that's the person you go for. If you want to spend 70 to 80 million, they have to be you're Liverpool 6 for six to 8 years. That's what you do.
I'm not sure if you're aware of it, Dan. He won over 70% of his one-on-one duels.
No, I listen. I understand.
I think he's great on the ball.
I'm hypothesizing what Liverpool think in this season. I don't think Liverpool rate him that on the ball. Like I understand what you're saying, but you can watch Crystal Palace with Doucouré playing forward, and he did not have the best showing if you were doing an audition for
but who was around him as well at the same time. Like
I agree.
He was the only player in that midfield, and if you put him with Szoboszlai and McAllister either side of him, then and our front line in front of him, and even then if you have a Trent sitting beside him, I think that brings that player on tenfold.
I agree that he would be better with players around him, but again, if you're saying 70 to 80 million pounds, euros, whatever, you want as close to the real deal as you can get. And I think Liverpool would look at other players besides Cheikh Doucouré. Listen, Damo needs to get off his Thuram love. I think he and Thuram and Kone, he just needs to take them out to dinner at this point.
I'm sure he's a little chalet down in Nice waiting for the two of them.
Okay, but let's be honest. Like if we get Andre, Thuram, and Kone, that's one, we're gonna have to start inventing non-homegrown spots to take over, and 2, like no one, Matt Gravenberch is gonna be like, why did I come here? We have so many midfielders now.
Yeah.
But realistically, you would invest in the defense and potentially a lighthouse 6, whoever that may be in the forward, whoever that may be going forward, to do that. If you don't rate Gravenberch, again, there's so many contingencies around this. With Salah, I don't think it's as simple as you buy XYZ. It's like you have to it's kind of similar with this summer with losing both Fabinho and Hendo. You kind of have to create a radar of certain players you want and say, this is the big one we need to go for. This is the big one you go for. But for me, it would have to be defense first, just because that's the one where long term that needs the next rebuild. Again, this is saying even if you rate Gomez and Kwanzaa, you're still going to need 2 to 3 defenders. And again, and we're probably going to be losing Tsimikas. So again, most likely 3.
Yeah.
So that's what I would go for.
Yeah, I think so. We need to start shoring up that defense, because that's getting to the point of where our midfield was, and we don't want that to be a problem. Now, before we go, a couple of things that I do want to point out is this. I did see this, Jamie's mentioned this, the video of Union SG on their plane being told that they got tagged with Liverpool. Alexi McAllister's brother plays for them. So there'll be a bit of a family affair for both of those games, home and away. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Video is very, very cool. If you can find it on Twitter, check it out. It's him saying, "I'll see you soon, brother." It's actually quite wholesome. I quite like it. And Paul mentioned that Paqueta is available. I'll tell you something. I put money on that. But
potentially maybe barred from football for a while, Paul. I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, at that point, I would rather just get Ivan Toney. If I'm being honest, I think there's a shout that you just go get Toney.
Yeah, Tony's back in January. Paqueta's gone. I think he's gone for a long time. And Paul also mentioned that I would be very happy if we spent all that money on Anasio. Yes, I would. I would be very happy if we went to Anasio.
Also, just a quick update, some breaking news, and no, I will not try to do a terrible impression until I could get some classes for it. Bella-Kotchap looks like he's off the PSV.
No, I seen that. That's been done by a bullshitter Man United fan. I wouldn't listen to that. He's like 20 followers.
That's fair enough, but we'll have to wait and see.
I seen that. I don't think that's happening. Something else that we joked about with Jared Bowen earlier. He's gone and scored. West Ham are up 1-0 against Luton. So who knows? We might go sign him while he's playing. He scored a goal. Might as well get him. But anyways, before we finish up, I do want to thank our 2 donations. I want to thank first of all Andy for his $3 Australian with the mention of the Gonzalo Inacio news. Sadly, I don't think we'll be getting him, but however, it was fun to dream. And our ever always stalwart and steady ship that we have here in Jen, thank you so much for your £5 as well. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much for joining us. We had over 200 people here the whole time. We very much appreciate you sticking around for some of the extra time, and I do agree with you, Neil. He's a top player. You'd put money on it. I'd bet the wife and the kids on it. But
we'll be back in a few hours, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, myself and Dan are going to be back in a couple of hours with 2 other guests, and we're going to be reviewing the last hour of the transfer deadline. So please do join us back here at 10 p.m. this evening, where we'll be live again, counting down the last couple of minutes of the transfer. Yes, GMUs, you can't get rid of us. There's 3 today. We had our reaction to our Europa League qualification earlier, which is a group I think we're going to walk, and we have our 7 one as normal, and then we have our deadline one. It's a very busy day here. The group chat is going off. I left the phone down for 10 minutes and there was 800 messages. It's the phone is ready to die. But anyways, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Please do join us again at 10 p.m. later this evening for our deadline countdown. From myself, Dan, Chad, and Harmony, thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you in a couple of hours.